this topic is that we're not converting between fractions and decimals and percentages. We just want to work with fractions, and we want to be adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing fractions. So today we're starting lesson 1, where it says we're adding and subtracting fractions. So filling in our dot points. Fractions can be simplified using addition and subtraction only if they are like fractions. That's frozen. I'll have to unfreeze that. Now that word like fractions, or words like fractions, means that they have to have the same denominator. This means that they have been divided up into the same number of pieces. And that is the only way to accurately, time after time after time, add and subtract your fractions together. Yes, there are shortcuts. Yes, there are other strategies that some of you may know to do this in a faster way. But we want methods that are going to work for all the questions, including the harder ones, a process that is always going to work for us. So, same denominators. If two or more fractions have the same denominator, to add or subtract those fractions together, all you have to do is add the numerators and keep the denominator the same. That's the easiest type. If the denominators are already the same, all you have to do is add the tops together and the bottom stays. However, if we have different denominators, and most of your questions will have different denominators, okay? If the denominators are different, we must use our knowledge of equivalent fractions to convert them to fractions that have the same denominator, or the lowest common denominator. Now, finding a lowest common denominator is the same as finding the lowest common multiple. Okay, so something that we practiced in our last topic. So, there are some steps here to follow. First of all, we're going to have to find the lowest common denominator. Often, but not always, this can be found by multiplying the two denominators together. Then you're going to have to convert the fractions to find their equivalent numerators. And once that has happened, you'll then be able to add the numerators together and leave the denominator the same. Okay? After adding or subtracting fractions, always look to see if your answer can be simplified, because we always want our answers to be as simplified as possible. Okay, so there's a brief rundown of it all. Let's see the questions. Question number 1, starting with the easiest type. You'll see that these two fractions have the same denominator. They both have 5s on the bottom. For this question, you know that the answer is also going to have a 5 on the bottom. And all you need to do is add, because there was a plus sign here, you add the two top numbers. 1 plus 3 is 4. Okay, that's all there is to it. There's not a lot of working out. That's all you need to do for that question. Question 2, there is 3 fractions, but this actually is pretty much the same thing. All of those denominators are the same. They are all 11. So my answer is going to have a denominator of 11. Then I can add the top numbers together. 3 plus 5, that's 8, plus 6 makes 14. 14 over 11. That can also be changed into a mixed numeral. 11 goes into 14 once. And then you count on from 11, 12, 13, 14. There'd be a remainder of 3 that would go on the top over 11. And that can't be simplified any further. Okay, they are the easiest type. Over the page, we get to the ones that now have different denominators. Now, like it said in the notes, Most of the time, the lowest common denominator can be found by multiplying the two bottom numbers together. So 5 times 2 makes 10. Okay, so what I've done, I'm just going to put over here, I'm multiplying those two numbers. 5 times 2 is 10. Then, to work out the equivalent fractions for the top, you can multiply diagonally. So that means I'm multiplying the 1 with the 2. 1 times 2 is 2. I'm going to be adding that with the second fraction, which is 5 times 1, multiplying the other way, which is 5. Okay, that's a little process. If you can follow that one, that will work for every question. Okay, you multiply the bottom numbers together, then starting with the top left-hand side, you multiply diagonally, plus multiply diagonally the other way.
Hi, do you have a spare math booklet?
Year 7?
Yeah.
Work booklet or theory booklet or both?
Both. The new one.
There you go. Okay, once we've done that, all I need to do is now add those numbers on the top. 2 plus 5 makes 7 over 10. Okay, let's try that again. Stella, yes, what's up?
How do you find the lowest denominator if it's not time? If you don't times it.
I'll show you that in a bit. Let's practice this a bit more first, and then I'll do one of those as well, okay? Question 4. The first thing I'm going to do is times those two bottom numbers together. 2 times 3 is 6. Okay, so I'm going to make one fraction, one big fraction with a 6 on the bottom. Then we times diagonally. 1 times 3 is 3. And then plus, then the other way. 2 times 2 is 4. Add the two top numbers together. 3 plus 4 is 7 over 6. And because that is an improper fraction, we can turn that into a mixed numeral. We could take one lot of 6 out of that and have a remainder of 1. So 1 and 1/6. Remember that you can use your calculator to help you with mixed numerals if you need it. All right, is that making sense so far? Let's do it again. Question 5. First of all, multiply. 3 times 5 is 15. Starting with the top left-hand side, 1 times 5 is 5, plus, then diagonally the other way. 5 times 3 is 6. Add the top numbers together. 5 plus 6 makes 11 over 15. Lucius? No. So on this test, you are allowed your calculators, but if you don't show the working out, you will not get the marks. Wow. So your calculators will only be for checking purposes only, or to help you with, say, times tables kind of thing. Wow. Because we need to be able, at the end of the year, we do algebra, and we need to be able to do these kind of things with algebra in there as well, which we cannot do on the calculator. So you need to, we are going to be doing algebra this year.
What is algebra?
It involves letters. Letters in there is a set of numbers, or letters and numbers. Okay? So we need to learn now how to do this with the steps so that we can do it later with the letters in there as well. So it's very important that you learn this process. Okay, guys, question 6. Can you please have a try? I've shown you a few of these now. Have a go. I'll give you 20 seconds. Get that common denominator. See if you can work that one out before I write the answer down. Oops, let me start that bit again. This looks very messy. There we go. All right, did we get the same thing?
Yeah.
Yes, so 4 times 5 was 20 for the denominator.
Yep.
3 times 5 made 15, and 2 times 8 made the 4, and then I just had to add those together to get the 23. That was an improper fraction, so I've also changed that into a mixed numeral. Yeah? Most people get that?
Yeah.
Great, all right. The next question 7 is we're now going to start doing subtraction. So the first one is back to a super easy one because the denominators are already the same. So that means the 9 is going to be the denominator in the answer. Then all I need to do is subtract. 7 take away 2 is 5. So the only difference is that we're subtracting the top numbers instead of adding them. The rest of the process is the same. So when they're different, we do the same process of going 2 times 3 is 6. And we multiply diagonally. 1 times 3 is 3, but it's a minus sign in between now. 1 times 2 is 2. 3 take away 2, so you're doing the subtraction, means 1 over 6. Now, theoretically, you should be able to do negative fractions here, as in you could do, say it was 4 minus 5, you could get a negative 1 on the top because we know how to do negative integers as well, but that would be in some of the extension work that we do at the end of the topic. Okay, question 9, let's try it again. Times the two bottom numbers together, 5 times 2 is 10, and times diagonally, 3 times 2 is 6, minus 5 times 1 is 5. Subtracting the top, 6 take away 5 is 1 over 10. Okay, and one more to do, question 10. Times those bottom numbers together. 4 times 3 is 12. 3 times 3 is 9, and minus 1 times 4 is 4. 9 take away 4 is 5, and the denominator stays 12. Now, we're just trying to start with the basics today, but Stella did ask, what happens if I get a question like this? Let's make one up. Let's go 4 over 6 plus, actually no, let's do a minus even, 2 over, well, I'll do 1 over 4.
Why can't you times that?
Now, you can still do this with the same method, and I'll show you. Here it is. This is what we've just done. So I've gone 6 times 4 is 24, and then 4 times 4 is 16, 1 times 6 is 6. And when I subtract them, I get 10 over 24. Is 10 over 24 the most simplified fraction? No, I can divide top and bottom by 2, which would give me a 5 over 12. The method still works. And so for those of you who like to just stick to the one method, you can always use this method that I've shown you, but you just have to remember to do that simplifying step at the end. But the other thing that you can be trying to do, for those of you who are a little bit more comfortable with your times tables, is to try and find what the lowest common denominator should have been from the start. So 4 and 6, thinking of your 6 times tables, you've got 6, 12, 18, 24, and so on. And 4 times tables is 4, 12, what am I up to? No, I missed one. 4, 8, and then 12. Okay. The lowest common multiple is actually 12. That is the lowest denominator you could have had. Just wait. So, instead of a little bit of an adaptation on that method that I've used there, if I do that question again, I could have made the denominator 12 instead of 24, because 12 is actually the lowest common denominator. I did get it here in my answer after I simplified, but I could have done it from the start. Now, it does make it a little bit trickier to find your numerators, though. My first fraction started out with a denominator of 6, which means I have to times that fraction by 2 on the top as well. So 4 times 2 makes 8. The second fraction had a denominator of 4, so that fraction needs to be multiplied by 3 to make 12, and 1 times 3 is 3. Then 8 take away 3 gives me the 5 over 12. I get the same answer, but I started with a lower denominator. I'm pretty sure for most people will be more comfortable doing this, sticking with that process all the time and simplifying it down, but just be aware that that means that sometimes that's not the lowest common denominator. So if you had a multiple choice question like in the last test, you might still need to have a think about what a lowest common denominator could be. All right, so we need to go to your workbooks now.